Ruth Chapter 1. Ruth Chapter 1. Now it came to pass, in the days when the judges ruled, that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem in Yehudah went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi. And the name of his 2 sons, Machlon and Chilion, Ephratites from Bethlehem in Yehudah. And they came into the country of Moab and remained there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons. And they took wives for themselves of the women of Moab. And the name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelt there about 10 years. And Machlon and Chilion died, both of them, so that the woman was bereft of her 2 sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. So she went out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they took the road to return to the land of Yehudah. And Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each of you to her mother's house. The Lord deal loyally with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant you that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said to her, No, we will return with thee to thy people. And Naomi said, Turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Turn back, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say, I have hope, even if I should have a husband tonight, and should bear sons, would you tarry for them till they were grown? Would you, for them, refrain from having husbands? No, my daughters, for it grieves me too much for your sakes, that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth held fast to her. And she said, Behold, thy sister-in-law has gone back to her people, and to her gods. Go back after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For wherever thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God, my God. Where thou diest, I will die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left off speaking to her. So the 2 of them went on until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was astir at their arrival. And they said, Is this Naomi? And she said to them, Call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Lord has dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord has brought me back empty. Why then do you call me Naomi, seeing the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabite woman, her daughter-in-law, with her, who returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. Ruth Chapter 2. Ruth Chapter 2. Now Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, Let me now go to the field, and glean ears of corn after him, in whose sight I shall find favor. And she said to her, Go, my daughter. And she went and came, and gleaned in the field after the reapers. And she happened to come to a part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and said to the reapers, The Lord be with you. And they answered him, The Lord bless thee. Then Boaz said to his servant that was set over the reapers, Whose maiden is this? And the servant that was set over the reapers answered, and said, It is the Moabite girl, who came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the gleaners among the sheaves. So she came, and has continued from the morning until now, scarcely spending any time in the hut. Then said Boaz to Ruth, Hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, nor go away from here, but keep close here to my maidens. Let thy eyes be on the field that they reap, and go after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? But when thou art thirsty, go to the vessels and drink of that which the young men have drawn. Then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground, and said to him, Why have I found favor in thy eyes, that thou shouldst take notice of me, seeing I am a stranger? And Boaz answered and said to her, It has been fully related to me, all that thou hast done to thy mother-in-law since the death of thy husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother, and the land of thy birth, and art come to a people whom thou knewest not before. The Lord recompense thy deed, and may a full reward be given thee by the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to take refuge. Then she said, Let me find favor in thy sight, my Lord, for thou hast comforted me, and thou hast spoken gently to thy handmaid, though I am not even like one of thy handmaidens. And Boaz said to her at the mealtime, Come here, and eat of the bread, and dip thy morsel in the vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn, and she did eat, and was replete, and left. And when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, Let her even glean among the sheaves, and do not reproach her, and let fall also some of the handfuls on purpose for her, and leave them, that she may glean them, and do not rebuke her. So she gleaned in the field until evening, and beat out what she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. And she took it up, and went into the city. And her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and she brought it out, and gave to her what she had left over after she had eaten her fill. And her mother-in-law said to her, Where hast thou gleaned today? And where hast thou worked? Blessed is he who took notice of thee. And she related to her mother-in-law where she had worked, and said, The man's name where I worked today is Boaz. And Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, Blessed is he of the Lord, who has not left off his steadfast love to the living and to the dead. And Naomi said to her, The man is near kin to us, one of our nearest kinsmen. And Ruth the Moabite said, He said to me also, Thou shalt keep close by my young men, until they have ended all my harvest. And Naomi said to Ruth her daughter-in-law, It is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, and that they meet thee not in any other field. So she kept close to the maidens of Boaz to glean to the end of the barley harvest and of the wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. Ruth. Chapter 3. Ruth. Chapter 3. My daughter, shall I not seek a home for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz of our kindred, with whose maidens thou wert? Behold, he widows barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash thyself therefore, and anoint thyself, and put thy raiment upon thee, and get thee down to the threshing floor. but do not make thyself known to the man, until he has finished eating and drinking. And it shall be, when he lies down, that thou shalt mark the place where he shall lie, and thou shalt go in and uncover his feet, and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. And he said to her, All that thou sayest to me I will do. And she went down to the threshing floor, and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn. And she came softly, and uncovered his feet, and laid herself down. And it came to pass at midnight, that the man was startled, and turned over, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. And he said, Who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thy handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thy handmaid, for thou art near kinsman. And he said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast shown more loyalty in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou didst not follow the young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, fear not. I will do to thee all that thou requirest, and all the city of my people knows that thou art a virtuous woman. And now it is true that I am thy near kinsman, yet there is a kinsman nearer than I. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning, that if he will perform to thee the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman's part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to thee, then will I do the part of a kinsman to thee, as the Lord lives. Lie down until morning. And she lay at his feet until morning. And she rose up before one could recognize another person. And he said, Let it not be known that a woman came into the threshing. Let it not be known that a woman came into the threshing floor. And he said, Bring the veil that thou hast upon thee, and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 measures of barley, and laid it on her. And he went into the city. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, Who art thou, my daughter? And she told him all that the man had done to her. And she said, These 6 measures of barley he gave me, for he said to me, Do not go empty to thy mother-in-law. Then she said, Sit still, my daughter, until thou know how the matter will fall. For the man will not rest quiet until he finishes the matter today. Ruth Chapter 4. Ruth Chapter 4. Then Boaz went up to the gate and sat down there. And behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spoke came by, unto whom he said, Ho there, such and such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city, and said, Sit down here. And they sat down. And he said to the kinsman, Naomi, who is come back out of the country of Moab, is selling a parcel of land, which was our brother Elimelech's. And I thought to advise thee of it, saying, Buy it in the presence of the inhabitants, and in the presence of the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know. For there is none to redeem it besides thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. Then said Boaz, On the day thou buyest the field from the hand of Naomi, thou must also buy from Ruth the Moabite, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I harm my own inheritance. Take my right of redemption for thyself, for I cannot redeem it. Now this was the custom in former time in Israel, concerning redeeming and concerning exchanging, to confirm all manner of transactions. A man pulled off his shoe, and gave it to his neighbor, and this was the manner of attesting in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said to Boaz, Buy it for thyself. And he drew off his shoe. And Boaz said to the elders and to all the people, You are witnesses this day, that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, and all that was Kilion's and Machlon's, from the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabite, the wife of Machlon, have I acquired as my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place. You are witnesses this day. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, We are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thy house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, and be prosperous in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let thy house be like the house of Peretz, whom Tamar bore to Yehudah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee, of this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife, and he went into her. And the Lord gave her conception, and she bore a son. And the woman said to Naomi, Blessed is the Lord, who has not left thee this day without a redeemer, that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be to thee a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thy old age. For thy daughter-in-law who loves thee, who is better to thee than 7 sons, she has borne him. And Naomi took the child, and laid it in her bosom, and became nurse to it. And the women her neighbors gave it a name, saying, There is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Oved. He is the father of Yishai, the father of David. Now these are the generations of Peretz. Peretz begot Chatzron, and Chatzron begot Ram, and Ram begot Aminadav, and Aminadav begot Nachshon, and Nachshon begot Salma, and Salmon begot Boaz, and Boaz begot Oved, and Oved begot Yishai, and Yishai begot David.